The more of a window I get into the Smash community when it comes to the drama, the ongoing issues, the discourse, the more I can't help but feel like there is a very large portion of it that is just drenched in unfathomable stupidity. It's become a trickle-down system. There are more than a few prominent Smash personalities I would consider to be just shy of mentally disabled, and there used to be more of them, but some of them were the ones who got yeeted during the great accusation flood of 2020, the ultimate purge, if you will, that I covered a bit of in a previous episode. But what we're left with is still a collection of certain individuals among the recognizable who just cannot seem to duplicate a brain cell. And these people have been nestled at the top of the Smash community for so long that they've rubbed off on many people who are fans of theirs. Not everyone. Obviously, we're going to be generalizing a lot in this video, so if you're the exception, good for you. But these people have maintained social medias for years, more than a decade, some of them. They've cultivated their fan base, they've shared all their opinions with their followers on whatever topics came to mind, they sounded off on community controversies and established a thought pattern, or lack thereof. And what's become of that is a generation of entrenched Smash enthusiasts who have been mildly indoctrinated into only having the right opinions, being completely intolerant of counterpoints, advocating for the exclusion of anyone who takes a different side, and fiercely shaming anyone who strays or does something questionable even by accident. There are a lot of different points to cover. We're going to get to ZeRo's recent interview with EE that EE uploaded and then immediately got browbeaten into taking down. But first I want to set the stage and establish the bigger picture that surrounds events like this, and expound on how stupid some people are. Firstly, on a lighthearted note, some top Smash players are just dumb. Not in a malicious way. They just have limited educational brain capacity. People have this conception that gamers are nerds and nerds are smart, so therefore gamers are smart. But there are a lot of vacant gamers out there. You look in their eyes, there's just nothing behind them. And you ask them a question and watch them try to figure it out in real time, seeing the gears in their head turning and getting stuck because they're so rusty. Before Samsora, the previous number 2 best player, was banned from Smash for reasons I'm not fully aware of. I believe it was something to do with his behind-the-scenes support of Captain Zack, the underage serial man rapist who had a pattern of seducing older men as a minor, entering hidden forbidden relationships with them or just diddling them in their sleep, and then playing the victim and blackmailing them. Samsora knew a bunch of real shit about that and still let Nairo, Zack's most recent conquest, take the fall, or something of that nature, allegedly, whatever. And that eventually came out, so he got banned. Nairo, by the way, is back and streaming again after resolving the situation legally and clearing his name, per se, and it is now understood that he was the victim all along. Anyway, all I wanted to say here before having to lay out all this context is that Samsora is the dumbest human I've ever seen. Watch any of his videos ever. They're still up. Just listen to him talk. This man went to school for 30 minutes in his life, learned about 50 words total, and retained none of the other information. This is how he talks. He says shit like, Chad, wait, listen. What's that thing called where it's like, it's a reptile, but it's like, from a long time ago? A dinosaur? Chat saying dinosaur? Yeah, a dinosaur. Oh, a dinosaur. Oh, okay, yeah. Anyway, here's a super technical float cancel peach combo that does 80%. Rock brain. Smash savant to be sure. Number 2 in the world, but like no fundies in the intelligence department. I wish I was a big figure in the Smash community, and I wish they had done a roast of all the prominent Ultimate players and made me the host, because they did one for Melee a couple years ago. I'd have just done 8 minutes on Samsora and skipped everyone else. Although you can kind of do the same material on Mars, the current number 3 player in the world, who has impressively not been socially eliminated. I actually like Mars. I watch his YouTube uploads almost daily, and I've given him a grand total of $3 on stream. But this dude asked if trees were plants like a week ago, and I just haven't been the same since. Mars mostly stays out of controversy, and I rarely see him tweet anything about anything that happens, which is wise for him. But that's just educational intelligence, and that's not really a problem as long as it doesn't bleed into your philosophy and your critical thinking about nuanced issues. There's no reason to think it doesn't, and who knows what these people think behind the scenes, but at least you can have some hope that they use their own brain in other areas instead of someone else's. Then you've got people who just cannot see past the surface of an issue, people who have no respect for nuance, and blatant hypocrites who love bringing the hammer down on people until it's their turn to look up and see a big shadow. Esam is the most prevalent example of this. He's ranked something or other in Ultimate, widely regarded as the best Pikachu player, and could not be more of a shining example of person who screams the loudest at others remains quiet about himself. Anti-racist, anti-sexist, anti-whateverist, you name it. Whenever there was an alleged moral impurity from a community member, E-Sam was at the forefront of condemning that person. Before hardly any evidence was brought forth, he didn't care. Where there's smoke, there's fire. He denounced people like it was going out of style, and he got it wrong several times. And if he ever acknowledged it, which was rare, he would just add a quick tweet to the end of his thread for nobody to see that would just be like, "My B, you can't even spell out bad? That's how little you'd care that you helped spread false allegations?" He'd give his thoughts on general situations all the time, and frequently say things like that he didn't give a fuck about people who were accused, even allegedly, and that he was doubtful that anybody with a sordid past was actually trying to work on themselves and be a better person. Which made it oh so ironic when it eventually came out that his ghostly white ass used to say the N-word more than a plantation owner chasing after a runaway slave. There were text quotes, there were audio clips. He was proud of it. He said it better than most people. So he apologized and said he was a better person now. He doesn't think other people are better people now, but at least he knows that he is. This was back in July of 2020, and people still comment quotes of his from those clips on his YouTube channel for kicks. But there are tons of E-Sams out there, just like there are tons of Samsoras and tons of the next kind of people we're going to talk about in regard to ZeRo's last interview with EE, that you now have to go to some random channel that re-uploaded it to see it. It was a half hour. EE is a prominent commentator of the Smash scene, and he's been trying to make a go of YouTube for a while, it seems, and he had ZeRo on to give an audio interview that lasted around 30 minutes. After ZeRo's fall from grace during the Ultimate Purge, where basically nobody saw or heard from him again until a couple months ago when he attempted suicide. This interview was the first real update of him actually talking and saying things that people had had for almost a year, so naturally there was a clamor to watch it. And I was one of the lucky ones who got to it before the Smash community censors did. Let's talk about the content of the interview first. In the interview, ZeRo talks about how his life has gone since he admitted to carrying sexual conversations and asking digital sexual favors from a 14-year-old when he was 19, like half a decade or so ago. He talked about how he fell into a deep depression and wanted to kill himself right after his final Twitter sign-off, but couldn't because his girlfriend was watching him like a hawk. He said she stayed up for 3 days straight to make sure he didn't, and that he was waiting for an opportunity the whole time. A direct quote was like, "If she goes to the bathroom, I'm gonna kill myself." Then he talked about getting into a terrible motocross accident that exploded his ankles or something and left him unable to walk for a long time. And since he's someone who was recently on a super health kick, going to the gym and having lost a ton of weight, he wasn't able to do that anymore and started gaining that weight back, which made him feel even worse. He talked about applying for jobs and getting called back, nailing resumes, companies being very excited to work with him right up until they Googled his name, at which point they'd be like, "Yeah, no, just kidding." He also says there's some stuff he wants to clear up eventually about the discussion surrounding what went down, so who knows what that entails. But he's apparently gotten literal diagnosed PTSD and becomes incredibly anxious when he even thinks about social media. Now, a lot of this is to be expected. Like, that's what happens, essentially, when you are outed as a 14-year-old explicit message sender, given the pedophile label, which isn't really accurate, and sentenced to live the rest of your life in social exile by society as a whole. It's not going to be smooth sailing, and even the people who still like him and think he's capable of redemption have to take some of that as a deserved given. But the interview does give more insight into what that might feel like. It exposes his perspective on the issue and humanizes it, which if you don't like that, then don't fucking watch it, you censorship lovers. I thought journalism was cool. I thought crime podcasts were cool. I thought we all watched half a dozen murder shows a week. I thought we all loved documentaries about career criminals that give you information you didn't know, that shares some of their perspective and gives you more insight into these people's minds. I thought we were insatiably curious about human experience that differs from our own. But no, I guess in this particular instance, it makes some people uncomfortable, so take it down. Gay porn makes me uncomfortable. No more gay porn. Anywhere, take it down. I've spoken. It makes me uncomfortable. What do you want me to do? Accept it? Just not watch it? No, take it down. It shouldn't be anywhere. I shouldn't be able to find it even if I try on purpose for half an hour. If you care about me, you'll take it down. It's honestly a slap in the face every second there's still gay porn anywhere. I feel like you don't respect me as a person who doesn't like gay porn. So if you don't take it down, I will publicly shame you like I'm doing right now. I'll tell you you should know better and speak to you like you're a dog. You're just a dumb dog I have to correct. You made a little mistake, Puddle. I'm gonna rub your nose in it because I'm a decent person and you should try to be one too. So despite the video having a massively positive like to dislike ratio, EE took it down because he was subject to comments like that from one of the victims, Jisoo, who I just cannot call a victim. You're not a victim. ZeRo showed you hentai when you were 15, allegedly, in a house full of people. Grow up. It's hentai. I don't even know what age I was when I saw pornography for the first time, because I didn't make it the cornerstone of my identity for the rest of my life, and then use my victim status to steer every conversation the way I want it to go, and control other people's actions because I deserve it, because I saw tentacles I didn't want to see. Perpetual victims make me sick. They control you with compassion. They dominate you with decency. Anytime you cross them or disagree with them, it's because you didn't be better. Why didn't you just be better? You should know what better is. It's whatever I say it is, because I'm the victim. I'm better. Be like me. Jisoo should be applauded for being the vessel for the real victim to step forward, the 14-year-old that ZeRo was digitally sexual with, as Jisoo was the one who told that girl's story with her permission. But the fact that it came off the heels of ZeRo showed me anime titties really took the wind out of your sails as a hero for me. Jisoo talks about the harassment victims receive as a counterpoint to people sympathizing with the harassment ZeRo gets, but both of those things are a result of your own actions, yours and ZeRo's. I'm sure there's people out there who are like, "You ruined my darling ZeRo's career, you whore," but I imagine there's at least as many, if not more people, who are like, you thought hentai was a reason to try and cancel someone, and you got lucky that something real came along so you could have the credentials to control the narrative and become a social puppeteer. People say you shouldn't give groomers a platform. First of all, he has his own platform. It literally makes no difference if he's on another platform, because he could just be on his platform. He isn't currently, but he could be. And that platform has almost 1 million subscribers. You're trying to kick him off a platform that only had 40K. You don't have to give someone a platform. You also don't have to give that platform views. It's your views that count. A platform ain't shit without views, so if you want to protest in a way that doesn't extend beyond your deserved reach, just don't watch the video. Make your own choice instead of forcing that choice onto everyone else. Nobody likes you when you make decisions for them, and you know that's true. Second, EE can interview whoever the goddamn hell he wants, and he did, and it was quite interesting, and most people liked it. But no, it made way less people uncomfortable, so take it down. If you keep acting like children, ZeRo's gonna come after you with a bowl of ice cubes. It would behoove you to be adults and understand that a platform doesn't equal an endorsement. EE made it clear he does not support what ZeRo did in the interview, but he also sees the human side of things, which is what normal people do when they haven't spent a decade immersed in a community that's taught them to think like reactionary toddlers. I saw someone say they don't want ZeRo to have the ability to garner sympathy with his story. You can't say that without implying that his story is sympathetic, and if it is, it's not your call how people feel about it. I heard from someone in EE's Twitter thread where he talked about the video that he apparently interviewed Anti as well a while ago, another Smash player who was exiled but under much more arguable circumstances. But I looked and I don't see that video anywhere in his entire channel, so this is the second time he's caved to pressure and deleted an interview. Like, just give up, dude. You don't have the grit. It's harsh, but all you succeeded in doing by removing that video was open yourself up to attack from both sides, because the initial rioters aren't going to forgive you for doing the interview in the first place. You're on their naughty list now, and you belong in the doghouse. Bad dog, go in timeout, and you'll fold your tail between your legs and whimper hoping they'll give you a pet, but they don't pet bad dogs, only good dogs who'll be better. This isn't my attitude towards you, it's theirs, and it's barely disguised. I don't know how you tolerate it. You've also got to think about how this plays out from ZeRo's perspective as just another nail in his coffin, not because of what that minority of people thinks of him, because that was clear from the outset, but what his mere presence in a video can cause for his friend, or fellow Smash person, I don't know if they're friends, but what it made him go through, causing a major controversy that would have been blown over in a couple days if he stuck it out, but of course he didn't. It would have been better not to do the interview at all than to do it and then delete it. Worst possible choice. ZeRo says in the interview that he's no longer actively suicidal, but who knows how much of a push it would take to put him back in that mindset. I don't know if restoring the interview would even save EE. It would just make you look wishy-washy, like you have no convictions, which are already not on display, so maybe that part's a constant. What can I say? I've got a hard-on for journalistic integrity. Be brave. When's the last time I deleted a video over a controversy? It was actually 3 or 4 years ago, but I didn't have to leave anyone hanging out to dry to do it, because it was just me making jokes that weren't good enough for the sensitive material I was working with. One thing I will say, as far as the idea that ZeRo's suicide isn't worth your hot take goes, is that other people's mental health isn't my responsibility, or any other random person on the internet's responsibility. It's the internet. It's a jungle out here. If you go into the wilderness without the proper supplies and wither away, it's on you. We all know what this place is capable of. I like ZeRo still. If he came back to YouTube, I'd probably watch his videos, but I'll make that Ice Cube joke and speak candidly of the situation. That's what I do, and you're all free to call him a pedophile if you want to be technically incorrect, and shun him as much as your heart desires, but don't fight above your weight class when it comes to preventing other people from doing things you don't like. This is ultimately, get it, EE's fault though, because he let you persuade him, which he wouldn't have if he had any semblance of even one cojones. There was one pro Melee player, IBDW, who tweeted, "Gonna make a really bold statement here. If you're gonna post a video or statement and it brings attention to someone who has very clearly demonstrated that they have no place in the community or have drastically impacted people in a negative way, you probably shouldn't do it." Wow, very bold statement. Did your special needs handler type that one out for you? I love how it pretends there's a community consensus on ZeRo, as if there aren't hundreds of thousands of people who care about his well-being and aren't just saying good riddance. I also love how doing an interview with someone who has negatively affected some people is somehow a cardinal sin, and that we should always default to the offended people as our overlords of decision-making, as if we have to protect them from content they don't have to watch. I also love how you're basically tweeting this into a mirror, the way you assume everyone's on your side and that it's a fundamental, inarguable tenet of philosophy. Like, God, we must look like ants to you. Your soapbox is so high up. Really bold statement here. The inherent sarcasm of putting that phrase before a tweet that actually turns out to be one-sided and stupid is an example of the intellectual disconnect between many prominent smashers and reality. His follow-up tweet is, "Please just try to use some common sense." LOL, you think that's common sense? That's almost endearing. If you passed 6th grade, I'll be shocked. Censorship is common sense, guys. Common sense is only interviewing people with spotless records, but there's a shortage of those in the Smash community, so I think it might get repetitive. Common sense is, if someone doesn't like it, don't do it. Time should just freeze at that point. Nobody would be capable of doing anything. Anyway, this is the Smash community, and even the people who don't actively contribute to this are still surrounded by it. Every sane person seems stranded on their own individual little islands in the middle of the ocean waiting for the inevitable tsunami to carry them away. I am now exhausted from typing all of this, so that's gonna do it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, you can like, share, and subscribe. Follow me on Twitter at Sunburned Albino, and I'll see you guys next time.